What's up everyone, Paulie from Gamori, and I'm here today with probably one of the coolest things that I've ever unboxed in front of a camera, and this is DJI's Phantom 2. This thing is a remote controlled quadcopter, helicopter, drone, whatever you want to call it, and what it allows you to do is attach your GoPro camera to it and fly it into areas and take aerial shots or videos that you never imagined possible before. Until now you would have had to hire a helicopter to take shots like that, but with this thing you're going to be able to do it from the palm of your hand. This particular version sells for $869, and what comes included for that price is the actual drone with all the accessories, as well as a gimbal that you can attach your GoPro camera to. Unfortunately, you're going to have to purchase the GoPro camera separately for an additional $400, and if you want to go crazy, you can also spend some extra money and buy some first-person view goggles so you can see exactly where you're flying. Now when all said and done, you're looking at least an $1,800 expense, so if you're looking to do this for a hobby, it could be a little pricey. So what we're going to do first is we're going to unbox the product to see what comes included in the box, and then we're going to take a look at some of the details that I think might be important for you to see. So let's get to work and see what comes included in here. This is what the box looks like, and the first thing that I want to point out on the back here is this 18+ marking, and this pretty much tells you that this is not a toy, so if you're considering buying this for a young child, then I would say it's probably not such a good idea. On the side we have some information about the aircraft as well as some of the parts that are included. And once I take it out of the box, you can see that DJI used recycled materials to pack their product, and there's this paper security band that goes around the box and holds the bottom and the top parts together. And once the paper comes off, we can access this black folder on top here that says Future of Possible on it. And the first thing in here that we see is these stickers that you can put on the aircraft to mark its front. And then we'll take a look at this in a little while, and they come in 3 different colors, as you can see. The next thing is the manual, and I just usually ignore any paperwork that comes with certain things. But with this, I think it's important to read through, as it has some vital information about setting up the drone, as well as some other tips. Then we also have the manual in Chinese and some other warranty card. Under the folder we have this plastic bag that has these cards in it, and these are kind of like courtesy cards, so you can hand them out to people, and if they buy the drone by scanning in the code, you will get points from DJI for it, and you can redeem it in the future. Alright, so let's take a look what's under the hood here, and the first thing on the right here is the remote control, and next we have this white box which we'll open in a minute, and then we have this bag with some screws and some tape in it. And DJI included 8 propellers, so that's 2 sets, just in case you would decide to crash it. It's good to have a backup. And the last thing we have in the box is the drone itself. Alright, so let's take a look at what's in this mystery box. And as it seems, this has all the cables in here, and the first thing that we have here is a micro USB cable for firmware upgrades, and then we have a 220 volt European type plug, also the 110 volt US plug, and of course we have the power adapter. And the cool thing about this is that it's rated from 100 to 240 volts, 50 and 60 hertz, so it can be used pretty much anywhere in the world. And DJI included all the adapters as well, as you can see, so you're pretty much covered with these things wherever you might travel. Okay, the next thing that we're going to open up is the Zenmuse H3 2D gimbal system. And this also comes with a manual that I think it's important to look at, as this will explain to you how to install the gimbal onto the drone. So let's take a look at the contents of this box. And the first thing that we have here is this bag of screws, and this has a bunch of different size screws in it, and the manual will explain to you which ones to use, and they gave you some extra ones as well. And the next thing in this other bag is these anti-drop bolts that install onto the dampeners, and they also included 2 bags of different size and color dampeners. But already on this bracket that installs on the belly of the aircraft has the black dampeners installed on it already. And this is the actual gimbal itself. And it's not much to look at right now, I know, but you will see how this looks later on. And the last thing that we have here is this arm that secures the GoPro onto the unit so it doesn't fall off. Alright, next we're going to take a look at the remote controller, and this has this red paper band around it that has some information on how the sticks control the movement of the drone, as well as how to start and stop the motor, so it's probably a good idea to read this info as well. Now, there are 2 switches on the top left and right corners that can be switched to 3 positions and can be configured from the controller's software that you can download from DJI's website. To power the remote on can be also done from the front of the unit from the switch that is located on the bottom left side. Now the sticks on the remote bounce back to the middle, unlike helicopter radios which pretty much stay where you move them. Now there are these spikes on the top of the sticks which poke holes into your finger, but at least you don't have to worry about your finger sliding off from them. The short plastic antenna can be moved to pretty much any position in case it would be in your way. After the paper tape comes off, you can see some of the information on the back of the remote, and you can see this is model DJ6. When the battery door slides down, exposing the 4 AA batteries that power the radio, and can be put back on the same way. It goes back on nice and smooth. There's also this lever on the right next to the battery door that controls the tilting of the gimbal. On the bottom we have a micro USB port that is here for firmware upgrades as well as for setting up the controls. Now, one more thing on the remote that is fairly important is this card that has some information of the LED patterns on the drone, so it's probably a good idea to get yourself familiarized with these. The battery that powers the Phantom 2 is a 5200 mAh 11.1 volt lithium polymer battery, and it has some information printed on it that tells you how to power the unit on, off, as well as how to recharge it. There's a port on the side here that allows the battery to be charged, as well as to connect it to the drone. On the top of the battery there are 4 LED indicator lights that give feedback on the amount of charge left in the cells. To charge your battery, make sure you use the power supply that came included in the box, and the first thing you have to do is flip the security door up to expose the conductors, and then you just have to plug it into your port on the side of the battery. To fully charge a completely depleted battery takes about 3 to 4 hours, and the LEDs will give you feedback on the charging process. Looking at the drone, the first thing that I want to point out is this micro USB port that is here to make adjustments to the unit, as well as for future firmware upgrades. Once the gimbal is installed and plugged in, its firmware can be upgraded from here as well. The next thing on the leg is a CAN bus connector that is here to plug in your IOSD in case you decide to install one, and this way you don't need to take the aircraft apart. On the back we also have something on the leg just like on the front, but this is not a connector, this is the compass. The battery compartment is also on the back, unlike version 1 where it was on the front. The way the battery installs is very similar to a battery operated drill. You just need to slide the battery in until it clicks into place. To remove the battery you just have to press the top and the bottom and it pulls right out. On the bottom of the arms you have these LED indicators that give you information of the status of the drone, and these you can refer back to that little piece of paper that is hanging on the radio. The legs have these foam protectors that give your landing a little cushion, and there are 4 spare ones that came included in the box. On the belly we have a connector for the gimbal, as well as 5 screw holes, which we're going to use 4 of them to mount our gimbal with. The gimbal's wire comes through a hole by the legs attachment, and it's good to have these holes in case we need to pass some wires through in the future. The top is left blank, and there are 2 sets of vent holes on each arm of the aircraft. On the arms there's also an arrow which indicates the rotation of the motor. And as you can see, the whole body of the motor moves instead of just the center pin. Each motor has threads on them, and these are here for the self-tightening propellers. The propellers are marked with 2 different colors, one is black and the other is silver. When you install them, you just have to make sure you match the black propeller to the rotor that has the black marking on it, and the silver one to the one that's left blank, or it's actually silver. On the front arms there are 2 shiny stripes that indicate the front of the aircraft, and DJI provided these stickers that you have seen earlier to make things stand out a little more. I decided I'm going to use the blue ones, but you can install any of the 3 colors to your liking. And once the stripes are on, the last thing to do is install the DJI logo on the top center, and this is of course optional and you can install them any place you want to. Next thing to do is install the gimbal, but I'm not getting into too much detail on that since it would take up too much time. Okay, so here it is with the gimbal installed, and once I turn the unit on you can see how it balances itself out, and the tilting now can be controlled from the back of the remote as well with that little lever that I've shown you earlier. You can also see how it counterbalances itself out once I tilt the aircraft from side to side. So let's put this to the real test and see how it handles itself outside. The first thing you need to check before you begin is to make sure that both switches on the top left and right are in the upper position for the GPS control to be enabled. Then you need to power your radio on first and then your aircraft. Once it goes through the startup sequence, we then go into calibrate the GPS. And to put the aircraft into setup mode, you have to switch the top right switch up and down real quick at least 6 times. Once the GPS setup is initiated, the flashing orange light will go solid. At this point you have to pick up the aircraft and rotate it 360 degrees nice and slow around its axis until the LED turns solid green. At this time we're ready for the next step, which means you have to turn the aircraft on its side like I do it in the video, and again rotate it 360 degrees around its axis until the LED starts flashing green. If it's not flashing green, it means the calibration failed and you have to restart it. Once you get the green light, you're ready to go. Pull the levers in the middle to start your motors and have fun with it. After flying with the Phantom 2 a few times, I can say that it's very easy to operate. Once you have the GPS enabled, it pretty much balances itself out for you. Once you stop controlling it from the remote, it will just hover in one place. You will be able to take some amazing videos or pictures without much effort. I will be making some aerial videos myself with this in the upcoming weeks, so check back in if you're interested. If you have any questions or suggestions, please leave it in the comment section below. Please thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.